right, we're here with Shane Banks. She's the marketing director for the Wild Horse and Burro program for the Eastern States.
For Eastern States.
And she's going to talk to you guys about the Wild Horse and Burro program.
So what I'm going to talk about a little bit is why the government, or why the Bureau of Land Management has the Wild Horse and Burro program. Back in 1971, an act passed in Congress, the Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act, to protect all the wild horses and burros on public land in the United States. There's actually 10 states that have wild horses. What we discovered in 1973 is that the horses were having lots of babies, and that they were increasing, the numbers of the herds were increasing. So we started the adoption program. And so the Bureau of Land Management was put in charge of managing all the wild horses that are on BLM public lands in the western, in the western ranges. So what we do is we go into a certain area that's determined to have too many wild horses, and when you go out west, it's not because there's not enough food or there's not enough land for the horses, because there's millions of acres on the herd management areas for these wild horses to roam. The problem is that there's not enough food and enough water for these horses to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And a lot of it is water, because they may have to travel 10 miles one direction to a water source and then 10 miles back to where their food source is. And they reproduce at a rate of about 18 to 20% a year, and the herd size can double every 4 years. So when we determine that an area has too many wild horses and we need to go in and remove some of them, because we're not removing all of them, we will go in and build a trap site where we can catch the wild horses, and we actually use helicopters to catch them in most areas.
And about how many wild horses are currently in holding?
Currently, right now, the Bureau of Land Management has about 50,000 wild horses in holding in different facilities across the United States. So anywhere you want to go, if you're interested in adopting a horse, we have several options. We have satellite adoptions, which is what we're at here in Florida today, where you can come out and actually pick your horse. We actually have an online corral where you can go online and pick out a wild horse, and it will be delivered to an area close to you when we're having an adoption close to you. There's lots of options for you to help us out and help find homes for all the wild horses and burros that we need to find homes for.
I know did you say about how many there was? 40?
We estimate right now, we estimate that the Bureau of Land Management estimates that there's about 95,000 wild horses in the United States today on the ranges. The land can only sustain about 27,000. So there's a lot more wild horses and burros out there than the land can actually sustain. So when we go in and we remove some of them, and then we try to find homes for them with people across the country. In doing so, right now we have about 50,000 wild horses that are in different holding facilities across the country. Some of those horses are being ready for adoption for people like you that can come out and give one a home. The rest of them are in what we call long-term holding pastures, or basically sanctuaries for wild horses, where they will live out the rest of their natural life.
Okay. All right. So Shane, if a Kentucky State 4-H youth was interested in getting a wild horse or burro, what would they need to have in order to qualify?
We would really like to see all of you guys come out to one of our horse adoptions and possibly take one home and give it a try. 4-H is a great opportunity to work with a wild horse. What you need is, when you come out to adopt one, you're going to have to fill out an application. And what we're looking for on that application is where you're going to put that horse when you first take it home. You need to have some type of corral or round pen that needs to be a minimum of a 20 by 20, up to 100 by 100, or anywhere in between. Honestly, the smaller the better for when you first start off. Needs to have a sturdy 6-foot fence like this for when you first take it home, just so you can get your hands on it. Once you've worked with the animal, then you can turn it out in something else, but you need some type of catch pen or round pen to put the animal in when you first take it home. You also sign a contract with us saying that you will take care of the horse until you get title, and that process takes usually a little over a year.
Okay. And then as far as trainability of the Mustang or the burro?
If you're interested in getting one for a 4-H project, I'm going to deviate a little bit and tell you about my experience with wild horses in 4-H. I adopted a wild horse many, many years ago for my daughter to show in 4-H, and she was pony size. She was a little bitty thing. But we actually showed her in 4-H. She did fantastic. She did halter. She liked my daughter better than she did me. So if you're young and you're wondering if you can train a wild horse, you absolutely positively can. The wild horses tend to bond they pick out who their adopter is or who their person is. You'll see that happen, and a lot of times they pick the younger person. Like I said, our little horse Cat, she much preferred my daughter working with her than she wanted me to work with her.
Okay, and then what is the preferred training technique for a wild horse?
If you're interested in getting a wild horse and you're wondering how you might train one, the best thing to do is to go online and to look at the gentling techniques that you see out there, the wild horse whispering, the round pen techniques. Takes lots of time and lots of patience. But if you're willing to work with the wild horses, you'll end up with a horse that's absolutely fantastic. I've seen them barrel race, I've seen pole bending, I've seen horses do jumping, dressage, cutting, pleasure, you name it. These horses can do absolutely anything if you will take the time to work with them.
And as far as a youth group, where do you see their possible fit in the volunteer program for Wild Horse and Burro?
Well, the Bureau of Land Management also has a pretty vast volunteer program, and we're always looking for capable people that can come out and help us at Wild Horse and Burro events. You can help us by doing outreach. If you adopt a wild horse, we'd love for you to take it to events and show people that the horses are trainable and what you can do with one. There's just a lot of opportunities. You can contact your local Bureau of Land Management office and we can get you fixed up if you're interested in learning more of how you can help.
All right, thank you so much.
Did I cover everything? I figure I start on the left side of the neck, right?
Yeah, it's on the left. All right, so all the horses, they look very much alike. There's some with different colors. They come in all different sizes and body shapes and conformation. Can you talk about the freeze markings on the Mustangs and the Burros?
If you come out to an event or if you've seen any of them, a lot of times when you come out here, I don't see any right offhand, but on the left side of a wild horse's neck, you will see a freeze mark, and it's an alpha angle system. And what that number does is it allows us to track that animal. The first two digits are the approximate year it was born. The next two are the approximate state it came from, and then the last four are unique to each animal. So we know where the horse was born, when the horse was born, where it came from, and then we can track the animal with the other numbers. So it really is a good system, but if you see it on the left side of the neck, that's what it is. And then the last two things, it looks like it's supposed to be a US, it doesn't always look like a US, but that lets us know that it is a wild horse, because there are some other disciplines out there that do use the alpha angle freeze marking system too.
And I noticed in this pen there are several that have hip brands.
The ones that have hip brands, yes. Occasionally you see those. Most of those horses, or all of the horses that have hip brands, have been used in a fertility study at some point, and they were branded on the hip to allow the wild horse and burro specialist on the ground, the range specialist in whatever state they came from, to be able to tell from a distance which horses had been involved in the study. And the 4-digit code that's on the horse will tell you when it was inoculated with the birth control, because it was a birth control study, and what state it was inoculated in.
Okay. And there are horses of all ages, aren't there?
There are horses of all ages at an adoption and an event that you come to. If you're interested in adopting one and you've never done this before, we always suggest that you try to find a younger one that works. We always try to suggest that you find a younger one. A lot of times the younger ones are easy to work with. But if you'll come out here and if you'll watch the horses, if you'll spend some time sitting and looking at the horses in the pen, you kind of get an idea of how they work together and how they interact with each other. What I've always told people is you don't want the one that's in there beating everybody else up, because they're always going to challenge you. You don't want the one that's running away from everybody else, because it tends to be timid and is a little bit afraid. You're looking for the ones that are looking for somebody else to tell them what to do, that look like they have a little sense, or they may be a little bit inquisitive, like the horse that came up to me a little bit earlier. Those are the ones that are going to be easier to gentle and are going to give you a better horse and a better experience.
And finally, are there individuals or experts out there with the Wild Horse and Burro program or family that could help them in finding a Mustang?
There is a wealth of information on the internet of adopting a wild horse and how to train a wild horse. We also have tip trainers throughout the country, and I believe there's 7 or 8 of them in the state of Kentucky. You can always contact them. You can actually adopt a horse from them that somebody has started training, that have been gentled to a certain degree. So that gives you a little bit of a head start if you're scared about training one completely on your own. So there are lots of options out there. There are some people out there that have done this before and are experts in the field of wild horses, and you can always contact them for more information and for help if you decide to do this and think you need it.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.